Hello and welcome. This is going to be maybe a long video because there are 6 Granny Chic inspired keepsake journals that I am going to show you today. It was not my intention for them to be this big for signatures. It was actually my intention for them to only be 2 signatures, but I made the spine, which I was really happy with, and I'll show you how I've extended the lace from the spine into the journal. And in my excitedness, if that's a word, I sewed the spines to the covers, which, as you can see, I have slow stitched the front and the back of each one, which was also not my intention. My intention was to machine, stitch around the patches, and then sew on this sort of top patch as the final layer. And I don't know how the slow stitching happened. I don't know how the giant spines happened, but they doubled in size and time it took to create. So this was possibly my biggest challenge yet, not in terms of technicality, but in terms of just sheer scale of this collection. I am going to go through one journal in detail, and the rest I am just going to do a very quick flip through for those people who are, like me, a little curious as to how I've sort of done each inside. I have used the same materials essentially, just in slightly different ways. So I know that some people find that inspiring, so I will be showing you all of the journals, but I will be doing this one, I think, in slightly more detail. So on the cover I have one of my quilted heart closures, and I have just used this sort of bobbin lace, woven lace, embroidered lace. I'm not sure how to describe it, but it is cotton, and I did avocado dye this to that nice shade of pink to sort of go with everything. So this is the quilted heart. I cut out a heart shape, and then I stitch around the edge, not overly carefully, but I like to sort of do that to add structure to the quilted heart and also to finish it off, because this is cut from a piece of quilt. I have then sewn a very old mother of pearl button to a bow to the front, so you can sort of see the stitches there. So that, and I've put eyelets in and woven this through, and that is the closure. So easy to have on the journal, easy to take off, and you could actually also use this on something else if you wanted to. So the covers were slow stitched. That's 12 panels. If I put them together, it is the size of a small of a cot blanket. So yeah, I got a bruise actually on my thumb, and then a friend, Heather from at Rosehill Paper, suggested thimbles, and I thought that's wonderful after. I will never be doing this again. So anyway, some of them have embroidery snippets on the covers, as you will see. So I patchworked different pieces together. On the spine I have used silk ribbon, actually 3mm silk ribbon, to bind the journals. I found that it was strong enough to do that. And these are gorgeous antique rosary beads, and they are glass. And I've used some really beautiful French embroidered trim. That's really hard to get now because they don't make trim the same way. On the back again is patchworked and slow stitched. Now inside, the lace that I have used on the spine, you can see the wide lace on the cover with the trim. As you go inside, you can actually see that I have a layer of sort of tulle lace that's on the spine as well, but you can't see it because it is underneath the wider lace. So on the spine you can see the wider lace. I didn't take the embroidered trim all the way through. That sort of stops there underneath the fabric that's on the spine as well. So you have this large piece of lace that comes all the way through to the inside and this smaller piece laid over the top to create two belly bands. So the spine is held to the journal by the piece of fabric and the two pieces of lace as well as the embroidery trim. So it feels quite loose. I prefer that because it means that the journal will actually open flat all the way through, and that's sort of, I guess, what you want when you're journaling. So it makes it easier than writing sort of sideways. So that's something new that I was sort of experimenting with, and that's why I got distracted and ended up with a much larger spine than intended. Anyway, in those pockets I have put a piece of beautiful antique French legal document ephemera to use to collage throughout the journal. I've also used my Shabby Blossoms printable kit, and I will link that in the description. That is one of the tags, and I have used them obviously throughout all of the journals, but just shabbied the edge up, inked it with a pink coloured ink, put a little eyelet at the top with some ditzy floral trim from Blue Linen Cottage, and that sort of just tucks in. I think I had that tucked in here. That just tucks into one of the belly bands. In each of the journals I also have my interpretation of a wildflower bouquet. Very loose, very beginner, but I really love how light and pastel they are. I did use pastel watercolors, and there is one of those in each of the journals just tucked into the front here. So obviously journaling space on the back of that. A vellum pocket. So there, I've sewn it on, which means there's a tuck spot at the back, but there's also one here at the front. And I've just sewn on an embroidery snippet, like a doily snippet, across the front pocket. And I just thought that sort of creates wonderful layers. And this is an Edith Holden book page. I've used a lot of book pages in this collection. I had a lot of books and this collection has used quite a lot of resources that I had a surplus amount of. This little I guess cluster here of things is an embossed tag, and I've put a wax seal on there and a little piece of twine at the top, and that is a French language card. So I've just tucked that in together. I have used original ledger throughout the journals. Some journals have avocado dyed paper and tea stained, some just have tea stained. What I also did was I made a snippet roll of all the little bits and pieces, and I've used that sort of as a ruffle down the side of some of the pages. So each journal has one of those. Some vintage wallpaper on vintage schoolbook page, some Lofter paper. 3 of the journals are very similar, and then there are another 3 that are very similar, but there are some differences, and you'll see that as I go through. This is a vintage tally card, and that's for a game that used to be played, and an original vintage library card, which you could actually tie some ribbon out the side there if you wanted to. A little trim on a velvet pocket, and this is on a printable page. I've shabbied the pages in some of the journals and others I haven't. In each center or signature center, I have used one of these rose images because I thought it looked really beautiful with the silk ribbon. And here I did another little challenge, because as you know, if you've watched the last few videos of mine, I am challenging myself in different ways to keep it interesting. I've been doing this for 2 years, and there comes a point where you want to start challenging your creativity. So one of the challenges in here was to use some of the tools that I have that I've not actually used. And one was the heat gun and embossing powder. So I had a little go on a piece of music paper, vintage music paper. Experimentally, I found old book pages absorb too much of the embossing ink, and you don't get a very clear image. And so you need something that's quite smooth. So that's just a handy hint if you want to challenge yourself to actually use the same resources if you have them. I did a little bit of stamping in some of them. I've also found if you have avocado dyed or tea stained paper, it tends to weaken the structure of the adhesive they use to make the paper, so things actually bleed through more easily, and that's just something to take into account. I think using Tim Holtz distress inks, because they have a different chemical composition. I've made some beaded dangles for these journals, some beautiful embroidered trim tabs. These are French ones. And that's another printable card in a fabric pocket. The second signature, I've used a velvet ruffle, a little bit of collaging here with old German book page from my friend Pamela, and a collector's card of butterflies. So Granny Chic, I interpreted as sort of bright pastel, sort of clashing colors in a way, I guess, or lots of color. So I've tried to sort of be very random in my colors in the journal. But as I flipped through each one at the end, I thought, oh, I've really not clashed much at all. But that's okay, because you discover things about yourself when you assume an outcome and then it's something different. This is actually a book page, and I have just backed it with some paper so you can write on it. This is blue ledger and some beautiful fabric from Emily's shop. There were some pages where I just felt they needed something, so I put a little blue bow at the top, because why not? Here I used some glue because I didn't want to fold these book pages in half, so I've used washi tape on the inside and I've glued some sari silk on the outside. And initially I was a bit put off by the glue marks, but I kind of like it because I did a squiggly pattern to sort of, you know, make it interesting. This is some braille paper. You can actually write on it. If you don't like the bumps, you can just grab a ruler and you can actually smooth a lot of that out, or you can collage on it. Some trim as a ruffle. This is a belly band, and I just love the blue on that printed page. And another rose image in the middle. I did some inking around the edge with, I think it's tea rose colour from Tim Holtz. A pocket. I also did a snippet roll, so I have a couple of pockets that are made out of snippets. That was an interesting challenge too, to actually make something to then make something else out of, so to make a snippet roll to make a pocket. And another embroidered tab, beautiful book page there, and tea stained. I like to point out that's a completely blank page that has obviously slipped under my radar, but I'm not going to change it. I'm okay with it. Here I have embroidered a little heart, love heart, on a book page pocket, and that's one of my pressed flower tags printed out and with some of that ditzy floral at the top. A tulle lace pocket or sort of belly band tuck spot here. It's quite a nice big one to put some ephemera. And this is a book page as well. Here is a wallpaper tag, and I've just put some French receipt at the top there in a bow, and that's part of that snippet roll there. That's on locta paper. Some more of that beautiful French ledger, and this would have to maybe be my favorite trim. And I've just had a really cool idea. Anyway, to be continued. Remember that trim because you may see it somewhere else. Some more of that printable kit. This is some beautiful document from the 1700s. I used a little piece in each of the journals. Some more of that really beautiful book page. This is some gorgeous handmade paper from Heather at Rosehill Paper Cottage. I will link her shop in the description. I had Heather make me a whole lot of beautiful paper in different sort of colours to make it worth sort of sending to Australia, but it's so hard to let it go. But it's there. And this is an envelope that I have just stuck in to the, I have tea stained that as well. So that's not inking, that's actually tea stain around the edge. And another rose image. Beautiful fabric ruffle. I think, let me think what fabric that is. Liberty Lawn, Tana Liberty Lawn or Liberty Print. And that's the other side of everything. This tag is covered in fabric with some of the lace that I used in the inside cover, and I have just put one of these playing cards in, so it's like a little up tuck on a tag, and that is in a lace pocket. That's probably the granny chic look, but I've matched the purples together and the pinky reds together and the blues together. So anyway, that's granny chic. So I'm at peace now. This is another resource that I am forcing myself to use, which is pianola paper or piano paper. And I am just using small bits because the way that it instantly curls really frustrates me. I'm probably a bit bossy, and when things don't behave how I want them, I get annoyed and I don't use them. But I am, you know, it's good to challenge and stretch yourself. Another beautiful handmade paper pocket. I've used a piece of handmade paper, and if Heather watches this video, she is going to be laughing because I seriously struggle to use her beautiful papers in I've hoarded so much, it's horrible, it's embarrassing. Anyway, this is a trade card, so that is an original piece of ephemera on a book page. Some more handmade paper. Heather, oh gosh, it's almost out of control. I'll put another order in soon to compensate for what I've lost. I have a wax seal here with a little penny farthing, which is super cute, and that's one of my rose clusters at the top there. I've just used that as a tag topper. I have decided I'm going to see if I can find some leaves, some very pale green leaves, to sort of layer digitally over the top, because I realized they're probably looking a bit weird without leaves. That's on my to-do list. Another piece of beautiful fabric from Emily's shop there, and some more Edith Holden book page, another beaded dangle there. Here's a little crochet snippet with a glass milk button tied on, and another beautiful rose image. And more handmade paper. Here I've used a little rose cluster at the bottom with some tulle underneath and a little bow at the top, silk bow, and that's in a pocket there. And we're at the end here, so the big piece of lace also comes out this side with that smaller lace. And I've included an original postcard in each journal. I can't see a date on there. It looks like it might have not actually been sent. I'm not sure what all practicing is there. Maybe a child has found someone's postcard, mum or dad's postcard. I used to do that, find things and write all over them. I'm quite sure I got in trouble for doing that. And I have used another piece of original wallpaper there and just backed it with the white textured paper, but I love the green silk on the top there of that green tag. So that is that journal in depth. I'm not going to do it back up because this video is going to take a while, so I'll just put that one to the side. This one, so I have used different quilting fabric and some different sort of patches and also different trim. And here is the watercolor for this journal, very light, and the wallpaper tag. I've used some French receipt at the top there. I won't get everything out. This is really just going to be a flip through. If I can work out how to mute half of the video and overlay music, I will. But if I can't, then you will just hear me babble like this all the way through. This one, I don't know what I was doing here with the envelope, but you know, it still works as a double pocket, so there's a pocket there and a pocket there. That was quite funny. So, and that's a different trade card for chocolat and book page. Another one of those pressed flower tags. Here I used gold, so I had 3 colors: white, pink and gold. And even though it's subtle and probably hard to see on the video, it's quite a nice, has quite a nice shine to it. That is an uptuck. You can see that I've sort of set out each journal, use the same resources but set them out differently, because otherwise I get bored if I repeat the same thing over and over again. 1934, it does my head in. Doing 6 of these big journals was quite a struggle at the end, because I just can't do I can't do things fast. I double check everything, recheck, double check, make sure it all flows beautifully together. I like that little cluster there, the charm. And I was meant to get these filmed yesterday, because I did put them in my shop yesterday. They have actually all sold, so this video is sort of more for entertainment than anything else. That's a really beautiful rose wax seal there. But it was garbage day, and we had, I'm going to leave them undone so then I know which ones I have already flipped through. It was garbage day. Have I already done this one? Yes. Of all 6 that I could have chosen, I've chosen the one that I did first. Or was it that one? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to pretend I've done those ones. I don't want anyone to get bored, you know, with a long sort of repetitive video. Anyway, so it was garbage day yesterday, and we've also got a big house being built just up the road. And almost on cue, a big truck just went past. Haven't had any today because I think they've done all the excavating. But I just had too many trucks going past, and it was just too hard to try and get the filming done without constant rumbling interruptions, because they were really loud. We have gone into a very strict lockdown here in New South Wales, Australia. So my 4-year-old was most entertained by the construction sites. With someone getting a new driveway, we went and stared at that man digging up the driveway for quite a long time. I think we're almost besties now. And, you know, the guys backing their huge trucks in to excavate all of this dirt out. There was a giant digger. He was enthralled. It was wonderful. Free entertainment literally up the road, so we couldn't get in trouble for being too far from the house. So yeah, that was quite funny. Not great for filming, but definitely great for entertaining a child. So yeah, and I decided to actually cut that because I really loved how that sort of looked with the scalloped edge. And there's another nice big handmade paper tag. And this one, I think you'll notice I haven't inked the edge, and I haven't distressed the edge of the printed pages either. That's different fabric on that tag as well. And I'm just thinking now that, yeah, so I haven't actually done anything to the edge of those, because I felt it was making it maybe a bit too grungy, and I wanted these to sort of be more granny chic than shabby chic. I was actually going to call each journal by the name for a grandma in different countries, like a nonna, an oma, a mima, I think it's mima, in the States. My son has a nanny, which is my mother, a nana pama, which is my husband's mother or mother-in-law, and he also has a gran-gran. He knows his great-grandmother on my husband's side. Betty is gran-gran, and Edward just loves gran-gran. But then I had 5, and I just couldn't think of a 6th grandma's name, so I just sort of that I could pronounce without hopefully insulting anyone. So then I gave them numbers. I thought, you know, and I didn't want to leave any, you know, grandmothers out of the sort of named list, I guess. But yes, so that was sort of the original intention. And I think at this point I will just show you the covers of the other journals, because maybe the covers and the little watercolors that I did. That was a really beautiful embroidered handkerchief. Because I think it's going to get too long, but that's the watercolor there for that journal, and the wallpaper tag, and a beautiful piece of ephemera there. Yeah, so they sort of really are set out quite similarly. Some of the ephemera obviously is different, and where I've put each thing is also quite different, but it's similar enough not to really go through everything in super great detail. This one has a little butterfly embroidery that came off a tablecloth. There's another one with butterflies somewhere. So that's the front of that one, and the spine, and also the back. And inside here, that's the watercolor for this journal and the wallpaper tag. Oh, with the watercolors, I was trying to do, you know, lavender and bluebells, and I'm not sure what that flower is. Possibly a dog rose, a dogwood rose. And I realized I was trying to do all different ones. I did manage to actually do a buttercup as well, but obviously my repertoire for watercolor blossoms at this point is quite limited because I am a beginner, but I'm having a go. I just sit down every Sunday night when, you know, the week is sort of done, and I spend time doing that for me. But rather than keeping the watercolors at this stage, I am putting them in journals because I think that's a nice personal touch. So what I'll do is, actually I won't, I was going to just leave the quilted hearts off, but then I'll forget which one belongs to which journal. And then if someone has purchased one of them and I've got it mixed up, they're like, hang on, that's not the quilted heart I was expecting. And I would be, if I had put, that's the other butterfly embroidery. How beautiful is that? All hand done. To have that sort of time and patience nowadays would be so lovely. I think you need to make time. I'm the same as everyone else. We find excuses, but at the end of the day, life can be fun if you just get it done, is one of my mottos from teaching. I made that up for my kids, all my kids in the class. Okay, so thank you for sticking it out to the end if you're at the end. Good vibes to you. You know, you're very committed, and I seriously appreciate that. So yes, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in my next video, hopefully. Bye.